Welcome to the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr. I am a transformational mindset and business coach and six-figure award-winning female entrepreneur. Ladies, I'm here to tell you that business and making money doesn't have to be hard when you're in alignment and flow. Inside this podcast, I will be showing you how to transform your mindset to program it for success, how to maximize your money vibrations, and how to redesign your business for ultimate financial and time freedom. You know you are meant to live an epic life. Now it's time to claim it. Hey Queens, welcome to another episode of the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr, and I'm super excited to be here today, recording a brand new episode, quite bravely in the half term with 5 kids at home, which is super fun. But I'm all about just getting things done. And if you've got something on your heart, like now is the time, don't wait. I hate planning things out. I'm an absolute nightmare for anything like that needs me to be scheduled in advance. My poor VA, absolutely, I think I drive her mad. But yeah, so today I'm going to be recording a brand new podcast episode, which is all around the 3 different levels that you need to create change in order to create true transformations in your financial reality. So it's essentially 3 levels deep. And what I've realized when I came to this online space and I started coaching initially, I focused very much on the masculine. I was very much like, oh, people want to make more money. So I obviously need to show up and I just need to talk about the strategy. You know, I was very much one-dimensional when I first started coaching. It was about, and then I realized that women were getting a lot of resistance to that. So that obviously made me realize that I needed to lean more into mindset. So then I added things like NLP to my modality and hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, so I could really get to the root cause of why women were getting super stuck. So that's the first level. It's the psychological level that relates to money. And what I have learned is that obviously it's beyond that as well. So then it was obviously the psychological level. Then I started to realize that actually, even with a limitless mindset, sometimes it was energy, you know, sometimes it was deeper, and what worked for one woman didn't necessarily work for another. And it made me really open my eyes up to what was possible out there in the universe, that there were bigger factors at play. And this is when I added things like human design to my modalities, because I realized that it was about, actually, some people are just not meant to be doing the things that they're doing. And if they are out of alignment and it's not really for their highest good, then it's not going to be successful. So that's where I added human design. I really started to dive deep into the spiritual aspects as to why, and this all comes from a very curious mindset as to why some people are successful and other people aren't. I'm very fascinated in human psychology and behavior, even just like why one person would buy versus someone else. So like sales pages. So I'm a Gemini, so I'm the perfect blend of the masculine and the feminine. I can do both, but I've realized that actually I'm a manifesting generator. So that's where this comes in as well, where we can do a bit of everything. We can do all the things, do it quicker, we can collapse time, we're highly capable, we're good at multitasking, all the things. So this is where I have stopped trying to deny these parts of myself and just go with it and realize that, you know, just some things will work, some things won't, and that's absolutely fine, and get a really healthy approach to failure and all the things. So, so what I then realized throughout that work is that there are essentially 3 levels deep that you need to be working on your money mindset. So if you're the kind of woman who has maybe, you know, done a bit of money mindset work, so a lot of the time when I work with women, they're like, yeah, I know money mindset. And I'm like, you don't, because all we're being taught, even at the most evolved level that we are now, most money mindset books will just tell you either a strategy, and it's like, oh, rich people think like this, poor people think like this. And it's like, okay, that's not particularly helpful, although it is somewhat helpful. But it's those other 2 layers below that are usually completely missed out when it comes to money mindsets. So the first level is the psychological level. This is where things like NLP and hypnotherapy really come into their own. But actually what we're talking about is the Ajna Center in human design. And it's about whether, if you know your human design chart, it's whether you've got an open center or a defined center. And it's about, so if you've got a defined center, that's somebody who's particularly headstrong, like really has a sense of the world and, their belief system and what they believe to be true about themselves, what they believe to be true about the world. And if that is the case, then you need to be super intentional with your thoughts and start to create and curate radical self-awareness, and understand when you are essentially like buying into old conditioning, old beliefs. So, and then if you've got an open center, it's essentially where you have borrowed the energy and the conditioning from others. So this could be like parents, your partner, society. If you're a kind of person that consumes a lot of content, I can always tell the women that do and the women that don't, they're the ones that tell me, oh, there's a cost of living crisis, nobody's making any money. And it's like, well, the reality is actually in my world and in my circle and in my network, because I've consciously chosen to upgrade the success of the women that I'm spending my time with, that I'm having conversations with every day, they're making absolute bank. So actually, that's not their reality. So why does it need to be mine? So sometimes you need to find evidence of the people around you that are actually saying that money is everywhere. But it's also about understanding like where those beliefs were formed. And I just wrote a chapter in a book today, actually, for a friend who is writing a book on visualization and manifestation and essentially creating your dream life, which obviously works really well with my Create Your Dream Life workbook, which you can get on Amazon, and I'll put in the link in the show link. I wrote a chapter on that today, and she was like, look, my audience aren't particularly spiritual, they're not evolved in that way, can we just focus on the neuroscience and neuroplasticity and conditioning and critical faculty functions and reticular activating systems? And I can do both because I've got that balance of energy and curiosity. So obviously, and from a neuroscience perspective, the psychological level, when we are children and we come into this world, we are like sponges. Everything in our brain is geared towards survival and safety. So it needs to get a lay of the land very quickly as to the way of the world and how things work around here. That means that we have to be, observers. We've got to really take on board what's going around us. We need to apply literal meanings. We need to start filing away. Okay, this happens, so that means that. And just getting a sense of self and, our place in the world and all the things, which is not particularly helpful because our critical faculty function hasn't developed by that age. This is what, and emotional intelligence, we don't have any logic or critical thinking. So, great for parents who want to convince us of Santa Claus and the logistics of that. Not great for when things are going on around you that you don't really have the emotional awareness to apply any sort of meaning to. So if you see your parents arguing about money, it's just very much stimulus response. This happens, my parents argue when they talk about money, therefore money must be bad. And that starts to form part of your belief system. So as an adult, it's about unpicking and unlearning a lot of those foundational belief systems that are part of your core. Like by this point in our life, like it just is, that's how it is. Like we really have to start, it's really ingrained in our belief system. So we really have to start consciously unpicking that and choosing again and looking for evidence outside of ourselves. Like I say, one of the ways that I do that is obviously by making sure that I'm always surrounded by incredible women who are doing amazing things. So anytime I fall into my old default patterning of behaviors, I had straight away have the evidence around me to say, well, that's rubbish, because if she can do it, why can't I? Like there's evidence out there that lots of people are making a lot of money right now, so why can't I? So that's the kind of psychological level, and it's a process in itself, it's a journey in itself, it's creating new neural network pathways, it's reinforcing those new beliefs, it's unlearning, it's learning, it's all the things, but essentially that stems from your Ajna center. The next level is the emotional level, and this is rooted in your solar plexus center. And it's about processing your emotions and doing trauma work relating to money. So again, when something bad happens, even if it's just you went to the shop and your car got declined, that's going to evoke a stress response in your body. It's inevitable, because no one wants to be caught out. At our very core as well, we are tribal beings. We want to be like everybody else, as much as personality traits and human design and our soul's purpose will tell us that we're not meant to be like everybody else. From a neuroscience perspective, we want to be like everybody else because it represents safety. So when those kind of things happen, that separates us from the tribe. That makes us feel absolutely awful, and it will store in our body as trauma. So trauma is relative, right? A lot of the time when I talk about it, you know, if people have come from okay backgrounds with quite stable childhoods and parents that were okay and all the things, they assume that they've got no money blocks, but trauma is still relative. Maybe you instead grew up the belief that, you know, we're okay, so it's, and there's people out there that's starving, you know, starving kids in Africa I used to hit all the time, thanks to things like Live Aid. Because, you know, my mum used to say it all the time, and it's like, yeah, I guess so, like I should just be super grateful and humble because we could be a lot worse. Well, the reality is you could also be a lot better. And if women that are really good women have incredible amounts of money, guess what, they do incredible things with it. So the world needs you to continue to thrive and grow and expand into your next level of success. But if you have emotional triggers and trauma around money, our brain wants to move towards away from pain and towards pleasure. So we will be holding back at an energetic level if we don't do that deep dive emotional work that comes up for us, that tells us that we're not good enough, that tells us that money is bad, that it's safer to just stay in our comfort zone, all of the things. And like I said, this comes from our solar plexus center, and it's around, if you have a defined solar plexus, it's around really looking within and doing the deep dive emotional and trauma work. It's understanding those patterns. One thing for me, as somebody that identifies somebody with ADHD, I have to create pattern interrupts. So sometimes I also have an emotional authority, which is how I make my decisions. So sometimes I have to ride the emotional wave before I make an investment in a purchase, because for me, everything's exciting, everything's limitless possibility, everything's amazing, or it's a hell fucking no. And I'll know that pretty quickly. But if I did all of the things that I wanted to do at all of the times, I would probably never finish the thing again, which is fine to a point, because in my business I have a team. But equally, and that is my role in the collective, to be that person that just YOLOs it up and follows their heart. But equally, with 5 kids and school runs and all the things, like, I also have to balance that out with practicality. So sometimes I create intentional pattern interrupts, and I make sure that I've ridden the emotional wave so that I can feel a full body hell yes or no before I invest in a purchase. Sometimes I don't. I just think, fuck it, there's more where that came from. And it's never really done me wrong, so we're good with that. But if you have an open center around in your solar plexus, it's about understanding, having and building awareness around what are my beliefs, what are my responses, and what belong to somebody else. It's around like that deconditioning back to your parents. Maybe you're an empath that soaks up the energy of everybody else around you as well. And then the final level is your physiological level as it relates to money, and this is known as your splenic center. And they actually say that prosperity is in the spine, because this is essentially like our second brain, as much as our gut is as well. It's like, this is where our automatic intuitive gut reactions will happen, emotional responses will happen before something even has a chance to get to our brain. So if we touch something hot and we had to wait for it to go all the way from our hand all the way up through our body, through our spine and up to our brain, we'd probably have like 2nd-degree burns before we intuitively did something out to move away from it. Our spine and our splenic center are responsible for our reactions of reflexes. I'm like, what am I talking about? Reflexes, sorry. So it's about those intuitive, instinctive, like gut reactions every time something happens with money. Again, our brain is wired to move towards pleasure and away from pain. So if we already like go into a shop, we're about to pay for our things and start to stiffen up, feel awkward, feel that sick churning in our gut, where it's like, oh God, you know, is the card going to go through? Whether it's logical or not, this is the thing. Like, it could be, actually, I'm good, I've got loads of money in the bank, I'm fine. This is bringing up an emotional trauma from my childhood. It's about changing your physiological state. And it's one of the reasons why I added EFT to my modalities, which is a emotional freedom technique, because sometimes it's about getting into the Wonder Woman pose, changing your physiological state. It's about movement and getting rid of that stuck energy and trauma in your body so that you can feel fresh, you can feel lighter, you can allow the flow of abundance to move through your body without getting stuck in your spine, essentially, without like tensing up and inadvertently energetically rejecting money. So you can see there's a lot of levels to it, right? It's one of the reasons why I've really leaned into human design in my business coaching strategy, and why I now call myself a business alchemist. Because what I've realized over the years of business coaching is that there is no one way fits all approach to a woman's business. Because first of all, it's about alignment of the point of the business in the first place. It could be that actually it's not the right business for them. It's about your zone of genius, it's about your energy type, and then it's also unblocking the flow of abundance so that you can be that conduit for wealth at every single layer. There's so much to it as a woman. And again, I'm a manifesting generator, so I always add these layers in because it just makes sense. It's like pulling together all the pieces of the puzzle. It's never one thing to anything, in my opinion and my experience in life. There's never been a one-way approach to anything, really. So it's why I focus more on creating those bespoke business, sales and marketing strategies. And even the offers that you're creating, are they the right offers? Are the price points like energetically aligned to you? Can you really get behind selling them? And it's about tapping into your mind, body, soul connection so that it's a full fucking body. How yes, when you really go all in, that is when the magic happens. That's why I've created my 10 days to 10K challenge, so that I can get more women piggybacking off the energy of other incredible women to create that, to raise their vibrations, to create that emotional peak state for them to go out and create incredible quantum shifts. I'd love for you to join me, but I'm also offering currently human design readings in a little bit more depth, not in the full depth, but in more depth with my VIP sessions at the moment, which typically have been used for like women that want to either like move on to their next level of business. Maybe they're looking at scaling, maybe they're a startup, they don't know where to start, maybe they have fallen out of love with their business, maybe they want to check that they fully monetize it, they're not leaving money on the table, maybe it's just I want to finally get rid of some of these mindset blocks that I know I'm holding myself back on. That's where the VIP sessions have traditionally come in for me, and the results have been insane. So it's been women that are literally 10x their sales, up leveled their income goals, they finally got out of their own way and all the things. So I'm going to pop that. If you'd like to book one of those, I've only got 5 available and they need to be booked like ASAP, because once they're gone, they're gone. And they will include a full human design reading as well, because as you can see, there's so much to it. Even if it's just I want to understand my unique money blocks personal to me and how I can overcome them and finally get rid of this and really step into that financial flow and abundance and most empowered state, then I really do urge you and invite you to gift yourself this session. And otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for listening to this episode. It's been amazing to share this time with you, and I feel honoured to be part of your journey. If you've loved what you've heard, had an aha moment, or found value in this episode, then please do like, comment and share. I would love to connect with you on Instagram and Facebook, so come and find me, and I look forward to helping you build your epic life.